All right, class. So this is a continuation of our look at the French Revolution. And as things continued to change with the formation of the National Assembly and the Constitution that was being formulated, I want to take a closer look at how the old order, the old regime, continued to be destroyed. And one of the things that they really focused on was just tearing apart, taking apart what are referred to as the relics, as it were, of feudalism and aristocratic privilege. The old order of when peasants were beholden to their landlords, that sort of thing. And so there was this declaration of the rights of man and the citizen. This is an important document that explains that there are freedom and rights that belong to all. There should be no special privileges for the first and second estates. And then in October of 1789, on October the 4th, in fact, it was there was a march of women on Versailles to demand bread, and eventually the king gives in and says that withholding all of the food supply to simply take care of the army and is obviously not a smart thing to do. He would have full-scale revolt, probably even storm the palace, but the women were at least pleading and saying, "Will you give us bread?" The Catholic Church saw some changes. Half of the priests, remember they are part of the first estate, refused to pledge their allegiance to this new civil constitution. They did not believe in all of the changes that were being made. And unfortunately, this made the church seen as an enemy of the revolution and therefore of the people. So what about this new constitution? What exactly was in it? Well, it reduced the power of the monarchy, for one. That's an important part of it. It established a new legislative assembly. And there was administrative restructuring, which allowed for more middle-class commoners to be elected. So there would be more proportional representation of the people of France. But there was opposition. There were people who preferred the old order. And there were people in other countries throughout Europe that also were preferring the old order. So there was opposition to these new changes that were being made. There, within France, there were a group referred to as the Jacobins, and they are the radical Jacobins who wanted to return to the control of the way things were. Austria and Prussia, neighboring countries, wanted to strengthen the French monarchy because they felt that a threat to the monarchy in France would also in turn result in a threat to the monarchy in their own countries, in Austria and Prussia. And so they felt a vested interest to continue to support and strengthen the French monarchy. Then things got real radical. Things got very radical. There was the proclamation of a new republic, and the monarchy was abolished as of September 21st, 1792. So, 3 years later from the start of the French Revolution, what then do you do with a king who technically is no longer king? Well, he ends up being executed, Louis XVI, on January 21st, 1793. So this did not come easily. And now we see an entire nation at war with itself, in a sense. And but now they had to prepare for war with other countries who were growing increasingly concerned with all of these radical changes within France. And so an army of 1.1 million was raised up to successfully battle those European countries that were anti-New France. And this opened the door for total war in the modern era. In a sense, it was the French Revolution that paved the way for world war because it raised the concern of the French people that they needed to protect themselves against other countries. One of the most unusually named committees, though, form in the midst of all of this. Out of the new republic, there was a committee, a group of 12 called the Committee, ironically, of Public Safety. And their job was to what? Ensure the safety of all, that no one illegally opposed the government, and it devolves into what our textbook refers to a reign of terror. One of the 12 individuals on that committee was a guy called Robespierre, and he would be worthy of a research paper indeed. because of the way he controlled that and the way he set things up. We're seeing a nation that, instead of preserving freedom, seemed to instead infringe freedom left and right. Because if you were suspected in the very least of opposing this new government, then you were hauled in and you were summarily executed via what's called the guillotine. You were beheaded, and 50,000 individuals, many of whom obviously were supporters of the old order, but even some who were supporters of the new, but just got caught in a bad way. And so this whole idea of protecting the new government by beheading this many people, the Committee of Public Safety was anything but about safety, it seemed. And then there was also the attempt to de-Christianize culture, to de-Christianize even the calendar. They created, and this ended up creating more enemies than friends for this new radical revolution. And so we're seeing all kinds of changes. Our textbook goes into greater detail on that, and it's very unsettling to see how the people were being deprived of their religion. Equality and slavery, though, a little bright glimmer here is the fact that slavery was in fact abolished in France as of 1791 and throughout their colonies as of 1794. But eventually things devolved on itself with the Committee of Public Safety as it declined and finally fell, and appropriately its leader, who had a very heavy hand in things, himself was beheaded. And then lastly, there is a reaction to all of this upheaval of the revolution, and there was a new method to govern, the Directory, which tried to reduce government control, but was not ultimately strong enough, which made for an opening for another leader, and that would be Napoleon, who we will discuss next time. All right, that's everything for today, and please let me know if you have any questions about what material we covered. Take care.